life in Hollywood would be a dream for some people. It's hard to see celebrities give that up by making bad decisions. But we need to remember that we're all human and people make mistakes. Some of these mistakes were too bad to come back from though, and today on Beyond the Screen, we are talking about celebrities who destroyed their careers in Hollywood. I'm your host for this one, Joss Bedard. Thanks for checking us out or coming back. Leave a like on this video before we get into it. It really helps us out, and subscribe to keep hanging out. Taking spot number 10 on our countdown list is Gilbert Gottfried. If you've ever wondered if a tweet would be enough to end your entire Hollywood career, the answer is yes. Back in 2011, the comedian decided to send out some tweets that only he thought was funny. It was following the tragic tsunami that happened in Japan and took the lives of over 15,000 people. In the midst of it, he tweeted out a handful of insensitive jokes about it. Some of them are just a bit too risky to say here on YouTube, but one of them said, I will quote it, "I just split up with my girlfriend, but like the Japanese say, there'll be another one floating by any minute now." At the time, he was the voice of Affleck Duck, and they fired him immediately, which is not shocking. He issued an apology immediately after, seeing the damage he had done, but he was instantly blacklisted from Hollywood. He now does Cameo, if you're wondering what he's up to these days, and he even has a podcast that many people didn't even know about. Moving on to number 9, we have Danny Mathers. She is known for starring on TV series like The Bold and the Beautiful and Badass, but she's mainly known for her work as a Playboy model. Unfortunately, both sides to her career came to an end after she did something very petty and disrespectful online, and then got a taste of instant karma. Back in 2016, she posted an image on her social media of a naked 70-year-old woman at the gym and captioned it, "If I can't unsee this, then you can't either." She immediately got backlash from her post because it was extremely rude and also very invasive, since the woman did not give her consent to take her nude photo and then post it. Her post resulted in her facing criminal charges, and she also got fired from her radio show and banned from all the LA fitness gyms across the US. In 2017, she faced the court and pleaded no contest to a charge of invasion of privacy. She was also charged $1,000 and was ordered to spend a month doing community service of removing graffiti around Los Angeles. Moving on to number 8 is Lance Armstrong. While he will always be known for his success as the greatest cyclist of all time, he will also be known as an athlete who lost everything due to a doping scandal. For many years, he was supported and admired for being an incredible athlete and also a cancer survivor who inspired others. Which is why it was so shocking to fans when the US Anti-Doping Agency announced that he was running the biggest doping program the sport has ever seen. Their statement read, "He ran the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program the sport has ever seen." He later ended up admitting during an interview with Oprah that he had been taking the substance, which of course is a huge no-no in sports. He was stripped from his cycling titles and dropped by all of his sponsors, including Nike Inc. and Livestrong. On top of that, he was banned from professional cycling races altogether. He ended up reaching a $5 million settlement with the government, but his career has just never been the same since. In 2020, a documentary called Lance came out on Netflix, and it does a deep dive on his career and the whole scandal. So, if you want to know the deets, go watch. In spot number 7, we have Chrissy Teigen. In recent months, she has been in the biggest scandal of her career after being accused of online bullying. It all started when Courtney Stodden accused her of bullying for years on Twitter, and then even shared screenshots of private messages and tweets of Chrissy saying very rude and inappropriate things. Some of the tweets are so bad, she was actually wishing death upon her and told her to take her own life. The tweets are from the past, but people were shocked to see them and couldn't believe that she would ever behave like that. Chrissy had to step down from her role in Never Have I Ever Season 2, where she was supposed to be the voiceover role. It was later announced that she was actually replaced with Gigi Hadid. After seeing the backlash, she publicly apologized to her fans and also Courtney, taking full responsibility for what she did. But it seems like that hasn't been enough, and even she admitted to paparazzi very recently that she could be cancelled forever. She doesn't know yet. Making her way into number 6, we have Paula Deen. For many years, she was the face of the Food Network, but then a lawsuit took the title away from her and her career collapsed in front of her. The chaos all started when another celebrity chef, Lisa Jackson, accused her of racial discrimination, claiming that she used the N-word when talking about African Americans. Lisa was actually her former general manager, so it was crazy to see someone who was once very close to her turn against her and then reveal the truth. When Paula was asked if she has ever used the N-word, her response was this, I quote, "Yes, of course, it's just what they are. They're jokes. Most jokes are about Jewish people, rednecks, black folks. I can't determine what offends another person." This was not the answer people were hoping for. I think most people expected an apology maybe, or for her to admit how disrespectful and wrong it was. But no, apparently it's jokes. Fox News then obtained quotes that she has said over her career where she made a variety of comments that a lot of people would find offensive. Immediately, networks canceled her TV programs worldwide and she has had to go to court to defend her case. We have made it halfway through this list, and at number 5 we have Jussie Smollett. His scandal took the world by storm in 2019 and is still ongoing to this day. On January 29, 2019, a news article surfaced saying that he was in the hospital after being attacked by 2 men who allegedly put a rope around his neck, beat him, and then poured chemicals on him. The reports claimed that the attackers were yelling racial and homophobic slurs, so it was being treated as a hate crime. The media and his fans came together online to support him through what seemed to be this horrific incident. The 2 suspects were arrested, but in court, they revealed that it was actually all set up by Jussie and showed a check that he paid them to stage the entire thing. On February 21st, he was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report and was charged with 6 counts of lying to police, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. But prosecutors ended up dropping the charges, which the Chicago police were not happy with, and they argued that the actor got off scot-free. In more recent times, an investigator has been hired since then to further investigate and prosecute him, so the scandal is still not over. Rolling into spot number 4 is Tila Tequila. I have not heard of her in a long time. At one point in time though, you could find her everywhere, starring on her own reality show A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila, which ran for 2 successful seasons. I watched some of it. She got tons of attention on social media, but it started getting very negative when she started posting some very offensive things. One of them pushed her career over the edge in 2013 when she started praising Adolf and posted a rant titled, "Why I Sympathize with." If you think that's bad, it got even worse in 2016 when she and her friends posed for a photo saluting like a. Her Twitter account was suspended shortly after, and she was removed from the reality show Celebrity Big Brother. She was pretty much blacklisted in Hollywood at that point, and no one wanted to work with her for the sake of their careers. She is now a married mother of 2 and has a YouTube channel, which is also filled with very controversial and strange videos. Taking over our 3rd spot is Armie Hammer. 2020 was a rough year for the actor's career after some disturbing claims came out from his former girlfriends. The claims said that he was a cannibal and that he would take his disturbing BDSM fantasies too far in their intimate relationship. His one ex, Paige Lorenz, claimed he would tie her up, use a paddle, and leave her with bruises, bite her to a point of breaking the skin, and even carved his initials into her body during a kinky game. She described the situation as 50 Shades of Grey, but without the love. Since the claims came out, his career has taken a huge hit. He was dropped from Billion Dollar Spy, and his reputation has just been severely damaged. An investigation by the LAPD was filed against him after allegations said he had sexually assaulted some women in his past. In June of 2021, just last month, he checked himself into a treatment program, and sources say it is because he could not handle everything that has been going on. Sources say he checked into an inpatient facility for substance, alcohol, and sex issues. In our number 2 spot is Roseanne Barr. Another time that tweets ruin someone's career. I think we can all learn something from this. Maybe think before you tweet. The actress and comedian was once on top of the world with her own ABC show called Roseanne, but that all ended in May 2018. She sent out some racist tweets referring to Valerie Jarrett, who was the senior advisor to the former president Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. People were immediately furious and disgusted with her words, and no one thought it was funny, even though she was claiming that it was a joke. After seeing the backlash she was getting, she deleted the tweet and apologized, but ABC had already canceled her show, which was actually supposed to air that day. In interviews after that, when talking about the controversy, she still laughs it off and continues to say that it was a joke. We are at number 1 and we have Chris Brown. The singer forever changed his reputation and career back in 2009 when he faced felony charges. It's honestly hard to forget the horrible altercation that happened between he and his then girlfriend Rihanna when he was charged with felony assault. Photos surfaced at the time showing Rihanna's face all battered and bruised. He ended up pleading guilty to the charges and was sentenced to serve 5 years probation and 1,400 hours of community service. After the incident, he was very open and honest in interviews and actually admitted to punching her in the face, calling himself a monster. His career has never been the same since, but Rihanna ended up forgiving him. She originally had a restraining order against him, of course, but she later dropped that and said that the two of them are still very close friends. Kicking off this countdown at number 10 is Isaiah Washington. He won over millions of hearts with his character on Grey's Anatomy, but their opinion of him changed back in 2007 when he made some homophobic comments at the Golden Globe Awards. It was those comments that pushed his career over the edge because not long before that, he was exposed for insulting his co-star TR Knight with homophobic language as well. He did apologize for both incidents and tried to make things better by going to executive counseling, but then Grey's made the decision that they would not be renewing their contract with him. Ever since then, he's been blacklisted in Hollywood, and he said he could just no longer afford an agent or a publicist and was not able to sustain himself in the industry. He's still talking about it too, all these years later. In 2020, he tweeted, "I've learned that all money ain't good money, and no amount of money can replace your dignity and integrity. Some call it living by your principles." He also tweeted that he stands by the fact that everyone is entitled to their freedom of speech, even if it's homophobic, I guess. Up next, number 9, we have Vince Vaughn. Have you ever wondered what happened to the actor who was once popping up in almost every romantic comedy? Rumors have gone around for years about why he stopped showing up on our big screens, but in 2015, he talked about it and said everything changed once he changed his management team. He talked with British GQ and said that his career flopped when he changed his team back in 2008. Turns out the actor fired his agency at the time and his longtime manager. It seems like that was a mistake. He said, "I liked the new guys, they had some decent ideas, but I didn't have the same sort of rapport as I'd had with my previous team. This tweak can affect your output, especially if you're not communicating brilliantly." So he didn't have some big scandal that ruined his career. He made the decision himself to fire his team, and that just did not work out in his favor. However, in 2020, he starred in the horror comedy Freaky. I don't know if you saw it, but media outlets made articles entitled it saying that fans should not call this a comeback, which is not good. But here's hoping. I really liked him. Sliding into number 8 is Lindsay Lohan. Fans were devastated when her career started taking a turn for the worse. She was once one of the most popular actresses in Hollywood, but then she started getting in trouble with the law. Throughout the years, she's been arrested for DUIs, charged with substance use and possession, and was even arrested after violating her probation from some previous charges. In 2010, I don't think we can ever forget when she was sentenced to 90 days in jail for failing to attend her court-ordered weekly alcohol education classes. Years down the road, she still faced other charges after causing altercations in bars. In 2012, she allegedly punched a woman in the face outside of Club Avenue in Manhattan. She has a whole list of allegations and charges that have made her completely blacklisted in Hollywood. But there might be some hope for fans because it was just announced a few months ago that she will be starring in a Netflix Christmas romantic comedy movie coming out later this year. Could it be her comeback? I'm kind of hoping it is. I loved her. In spot number 7, we have CeeLo Green. The singer was once at the peak of his career, having successful music and being a judge on The Voice. But he lost all parts of his career when he was accused of sexual back in 2012. Allegations surfaced from a woman who claimed he attacked her while they partied together one night. 2 years after the allegations first came out, he received probation and community service after pleading no contest to a lesser charge of giving the victim a substance. I can't say what it is. A substance, we'll leave it at that. Just 2 days after the case closed on August 31st, 2014, he went on Twitter to talk about it, but didn't offer an apology or an explanation, which most people expected from him. Instead, he posted some very insensitive tweets completely discrediting the woman's claims. He said, if someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent. If the allegations did not ruin his reputation and career, the tweets sure did. TBS immediately canceled his show called The Good Life, and he lost his headlining gig that was scheduled in New Orleans. Moving on to number 6 is Katherine Heigl. In the 2000s, she was taking the lead in practically every rom-com like Knocked Up, The Ugly Truth, 27 Dresses. But even outside of her movies, she also had a successful career for her role on Grey's Anatomy. But she then ended up on Hollywood's most hated list after making comments about some of her movies. She spoke very negatively about Knocked Up and said that it painted females in a very negative light and called it humorless and uptight. And then she went on to diss her time on Grey's Anatomy to a point where she even pulled herself from her Emmy nomination for her performance on the show. So it's no surprise that directors probably don't want to cast her in any upcoming projects. It also didn't help that Forbes reported her as Hollywood's most overpaid actress. In the end, her character was written off of Grey's Anatomy and she just stopped getting cast in big movie roles. She did an interview in January of 2021 and said that she has stopped apologizing for her past and that she is happier than ever. She said, I quote, "What is your definition of difficult? Somebody with an opinion that you don't like? Now I'm 42 and that stuff pisses me off." Halfway through the list, number 5 is Monique. She was on top of the world in her career back in 2009 when she was earning a ton of critical praise for her role in Precious. Things were going so well that she even won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. But after winning the Oscar, things took a quick turn for the worse and she ended up getting completely blacklisted. Turns out the issue started when she refused to campaign for her movie without receiving additional pay. This caused a lot of people in the industry to turn against her because they did not agree with her decision. Things got worse in 2018 when she started publicly asking people to boycott Netflix and claimed that they lowballed her pay because of her gender and race. She revealed that they offered her $500,000 for her own comedy special, but pointed out that Amy Schumer and other male comedians like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock received millions for theirs. Since then, she has been put on the blacklist in all categories. Comedy, movies. Rolling at spot number 4 is Thora Birch. She was one of Hollywood's most credible young actors, but then disappeared and no one really knew why or what exactly happened. Most of us still watch her every Halloween in the movie Hocus Pocus, in case you're wondering who she is. Her career as a child transitioned into something bigger when she received amazing reviews for her performance in the film American Beauty, and then also received a Golden Globe nomination for her role in Ghost World. But she eventually got blacklisted for allegedly having bad behavior. That's what would have me on a blacklist. My attitude. During an interview, she was asked about her career ending and she said, "I pissed a lot of people off over a long period of time and they found a way to upset me, hoping that upset would bring a change in my behavior." But it didn't. It also didn't help that her father made news headlines, who was also her manager, for physically threatening one of her co-stars. It was that incident that had her fired from Dracula, the off-Broadway revival. So she really didn't stand a chance in theater or film. In our third spot is Randy Quaid. He was an Academy Award nominee before he disappeared from the limelight without an explanation. But fans later got an explanation because he got in trouble with the law and made headlines for it. In 2010, articles revealed that he and his wife Evie Quaid fled to Canada to try to make a deal with a group called Hollywood Star Whackers, who allegedly were out to take their life. But on their escape to Canada, they got involved in some illegal activities. They used fake credit cards to pay for hotel bills and also spent some time living in one of their former homes that they no longer owned or had rights to. According to CNN, they were granted permission to stay in Canada in 2011. His wife was able to get her Canadian citizenship because her dad was born in Canada, but Randy's request was denied in 2013. The actor was finally detained by Canadian immigration officials in October 2015 and was set to be deported back to the US later that month. However, he and his wife were actually arrested because they were trying to sneak back into the US through Vermont. It sounds like a movie plot. It should be. Taking over our number 2 spot is Stacey Dash. She first rose to fame for her role in Clueless and then went on to have a successful career on the Fox News show Outnumbered. But then her political views cost her her entire career. Back in 2008, she openly voted for Barack Obama for president, but then made a big shift in her views and opinion somehow between the years 2008 to 2012. Which is okay because everyone has the right to their own political views, but she just went a little too far when she started calling for there to be an end on Black History Month. People were outraged because this comment was just one of many offensive comments that she made. Later on in 2018, she was in support of Donald Trump and made comments online that she was also in support of him building a wall between the border. A lot of her comments came across very racist and offensive to others. That is not very surprising, and that is when she lost her whole career. But just a few months ago, in March 2021, she says that she has changed her perspective and also apologized for her past remarks and behavior. So maybe there's a chance she will be forgiven. Sliding into our number 1 spot is Shia LaBeouf. For many years now, fans have seen him go through rough patches in his career while struggling with a substance and alcohol addiction. But it seemed like things were getting better after he apologized for past actions and said that he got sober. But then, at the end of 2020, he was facing serious allegations when his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs sued him and accused him of sexual infliction of emotional distress. In the lawsuit, it wrote, "Shia LaBeouf hurts women, he uses them, he is dangerous." Shia has responded to the claims since then and admitted that he has been that way towards himself and others in the past, and that even his addiction is not an excuse for his bad behavior. But as for specifics with her claims, he says they are not true. The whole lawsuit released some very horrific and detailed allegations, and a lot of people think this will be the end to his career for good. Even other celebrities came out and spoke against him. Sia, who worked with him before and actually had a friendship with him, came forward and said he was also emotionally harmful towards her and believes that he is very sick.
And at number 10, Armie Hammer. As more and more comes out against Armie Hammer, it's safe to say that his career is basically over. The actor shot to fame in his roles in Call Me By Your Name and The Social Network, but recently multiple women have come forward with disturbing allegations against Hammer, with many expressing that he had scary fetishes and many times he would take things way too far for the women. There were even allegations surfacing that he might be a cannibal. The story got even darker last week when a woman came forward in a video press conference expressing that he forced himself on her for over 4 hours. Apparently during the incident, he slammed her head into a wall and whipped her feet with a crop, with her stating that she did not consent to these actions. As a result of the first string of allegations, he stepped away from an upcoming film with Jennifer Lopez called Shotgun Wedding. And now with these most recent allegations, it seems that he could actually face serious jail time. And at number 9, Ralph Fiennes. After a backlash began mounting against writer J.K. Rowling, calling her transphobic, many actors in the Harry Potter franchise spoke out against Rowling and in support of trans people. However, actor Ralph Fiennes, who plays Voldemort in the film, stood by her, commenting in an interview, quote, "I can't understand the vitriol directed at her. I can understand the heat of an argument, but I find this age of accusation and the need to condemn irrational. I find the level of hatred that people express about views that differ from theirs and the violence of language towards others disturbing." Here it seems he wasn't supporting her statements, rather just condemning the reaction that came from her statements. However, many fans were saddened that the actor did not understand why many found her statements to be offensive. And at number 8, Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson is getting tons of backlash after she starred in the movie Music, directed by singer Sia. The film is about an autistic girl named Music, whom Hudson plays her older sister, and the film was being called an ableist film. The negative reaction against Hudson got even worse after it was announced that she was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for her performance in the movie. Tina Fey, the host of the 2021 Golden Globes, even made a comment against Hudson in her monologue, saying that Hudson's involvement in the film was the quote most offensive casting since Kate Hudson was a Weight Watchers spokesperson. Despite the backlash, Hudson still appeared on the telecast saying that she loved making the movie. Quote, "As an actress and a singer and a dancer, it's everything you'd want to experience," Hudson said. In at number 7, Maddie Ziegler. Dancer and now actress Maddie Ziegler got massive backlash after she decided to participate in the controversial Sia film called Music. In Music, Ziegler plays a nonverbal autistic teenager who comes under the care of her half-sister, played by Kate Hudson, after the death of her grandmother. When the trailer was released, it got immediate backlash from autism advocates, specifically for the fact that the lead role was not played by an autistic actor. Petitions sprung up on change.org to stop the release of the film, saying the film contributes to harmful stereotypes. Ziegler has not responded to the backlash. Instead, she has chosen to not promote the film whatsoever and rather focus people's attention on her upcoming projects. However, it's going to be difficult for her to recover from such massive backlash. And at number 6, James Corden. James Corden is another actor who is getting backlash after he was nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy for The Prom at the 2021 Golden Globes. His casting in the film was criticized first and foremost because Corden is a straight man who played a gay character in the film, but now he's getting more backlash after the nomination because of his lackluster performance. Many are specifically calling him out for a stereotypical depiction of a gay man, with many others bringing up his past performance in the film Cats as well, saying he should have never acted again after that performance. Have at number 5, Lily Collins. Actress Lily Collins got in some backlash for being the lead character in one of the most hated TV shows this year, Emily in Paris. The show that was debuted on Netflix follows a 20-something-year-old Chicago woman who moves to Paris after she receives a surprising job opportunity. But the series was met with tons of criticism, critiquing the way that the city and its people are portrayed, as well as the cliches and stereotypes. And the reviews by both critics and viewers were harsh. On Rotten Tomatoes, the show received a 63% tomato meter scoring and a 59% audience rating, so not good obviously. And a lot of the criticism fell to Collins. She responded to the criticism in an interview with Vogue Arabia, where she said that the criticism is disheartening, but she sees it as a way to improve. She also hopes to evolve the narrative in the second season. Am I the only one? I really don't understand the hate towards the show. I mean, it's not a great show, but like, I don't feel we need to hate on it. It was kind of cute. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And at number 4, Gina Carano. Gina Carano was publicly fired after she shared a controversial Instagram story where she compared being conservative now to being Jewish in the Second World War. The post was an attempt to compare the events of the Second World War to so-called cancel culture. Carano ended up taking the picture down, but the backlash had already begun. She was quickly fired from The Mandalorian and the Star Wars universe, as well as being dropped by her agency, UTA. After the firing, many critiqued the decision and claimed this was proof of an anti-conservative bias in Hollywood. However, given her frequent controversial posts, this seemed to be the last straw, and it seems that her days in Hollywood might be over. And at number 3, Tom Cruise. Late last year, a leaked audio recording showed Tom Cruise screaming at the top of his lungs on the set of the latest Mission Impossible movie. The yelling was because he witnessed a breach in COVID protocol by set members, and he was doing everything in his power to not have another filming delay that would increase production costs. Some of the yelling said, quote, "We are creating thousands of jobs. I don't ever want to see it again. Ever. And if you don't do it, you're fired." The response to the clip has been mixed, with some saying that the yelling was warranted and it was all in the name of safety. However, others felt that yelling to the degree that he was inexcusable and bordered on a toxic and harmful work environment. And at number 2, Sharon Osbourne. The controversial actress and TV host was called out for her stance in support of Piers Morgan after he made some nasty remarks towards Meghan Markle. The viral moment took place on the show The Talk when Osbourne was confronted about why she chose to support Morgan during his exit from Good Morning Britain. During the exchange, people felt she was insensitive towards her black co-host, Cheryl Underwood. As a result of the touchy moment, the show has gone on hiatus, with Osbourne looking into why she was put on the chopping block, as well as network executives looking into allegations that Osbourne had made insensitive comments toward co-hosts in the past. As well, actress Leah Remini has stated that Osbourne got her fired from that show, and many are thinking this could lead to her departing the show for good. And at number 1, Justin Timberlake. After the Framing Britney Spears documentary came out, Britney's fans started to realize just how horrible Justin had treated her. Some of these clips include him speaking about their intimate relationship on late-night talk shows, when that was something that she was keeping hidden at the time, as well as the fact that he used a Britney look-alike in the Crimea River music video after the breakup, which made everyone think that she had cheated. All of this brought up past criticisms of Timberlake for his handling of the infamous Janet Jackson incident, which made her look way worse than him. In response to all the backlash, he posted a lengthy apology to Instagram. However, many felt that the apology was too little too late, and was only made because he was being called out, not because he actually meant it. And since this controversy unearthed many terrible things about Timberlake, it could be too much for fans to forgive.
At number 10, Mariah Carey. We all know Mariah Carey as the skinny legend that she is, but lately people have been saying that her career is over. Though she's still out here making music and living her best life, there are some who say that her career is over, and it all ended in 2016 during a live mishap that happened at her New Year's Rockin' Eve performance. After building up to her huge performance at the end of the night, she finally took the stage and didn't sing a single note. When she got up to perform, the music started playing and she just stood there saying that she couldn't hear anything, probably in reference to nothing playing in her earpiece. As the music started playing for the audience, Mariah's dancers kept on going in the background and she shared her mic with the audience, getting them to sing for her, but nothing ever came out of her mouth. It was a letdown for a lot of people, and it got a lot of fans wondering why she didn't sing even though there was music playing. For a while now, people have wondered if she's been lip syncing, and there is some evidence to maybe back this up, but what do you guys think? Is Mariah faking it, and is her career really over? At number 9, Carmen. When you're trying to make a name for yourself, engagement is everything. For a lot of performers, they try to get out in front as many people as possible and attract more fans, because doing so will help you grow faster, making you famous. One of the biggest assets you could have when growing your audience is having a successful guest appearance on a late night show like SNL, because of how many viewers can tune in and watch you grow. This is how Lana Del Rey started, but this blessing can also be a curse and can end a few careers as well. Carmen was a music duo who got their start on YouTube by posting covers, though now it's been disbanded and rebranded, and there was a time when they almost reached fame after being musical guests on SNL, but after tanking their performance, they lost it all. They had a large following, and so when the casting director over at SNL found them and invited them to perform on the show, things started to look promising. They came on the show and performed their songs Broken Hearted and I Told You So, and after their performance, the reviews came pouring in, and they weren't very positive. They faced a lot of criticism, saying that they failed to connect with the audience, and one review even claimed that the duo's performance caused, quote, mild auditory distress. After this catastrophic performance, things weren't ever the same, and their careers were pretty much over after that night. Now before I carry on with the list, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video to help support the channel. At number 8, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once the wholesome southern mom who loved to cook, but after 2013 she took on a very different label after a lawsuit revealed her racist actions to the world. In 2013, Paula was facing legal action from one of her former employees who alleged that Paula was racist towards her and that she had repeatedly been harassed while working at one of her restaurants. After being deposed, the truth came out about Paula when asked if she had ever used the N-word, and she said yes. After this came out, the floodgates opened and backlash ensued. As anyone would do, Paula went on the defense and even sat down for an interview on the Today Show, but instead of owning up to her actions and trying to clear her name, as most people would try to do in that situation, Paula instead deflected the criticism she was facing and even voiced how she was surprised that so many people were taking offense towards her actions. It was thought that this interview was all for publicity, not for making a public apology, and after this, her career was pretty much done for because there was no coming back from this scandal, especially because she never apologized. At number 7, Charles Rocket. The 1980/1981 season of Saturday Night Live was a rocky and controversial one. This all started after executive producer Lorne Michaels took a step back from the show for a year, and the position was filled by Gene Dumanian. Because of this position change, most of the cast left, prompting Gene to have to hire a new cast. This new cast was full of new faces and was untested, so at this point the show was facing a lot of criticisms and bad reviews. Things went from bad to worse for everyone after comedian Charles Rocket dropped an F-bomb during a skit. SNL skits have been quite controversial in the past, and they still face backlash from time to time, but swearing on live TV was really where the show drew the line, and breaking that cardinal rule could be detrimental to your career. During the season's 11th episode, Charles was closing out the show and decided to let an F-bomb fly while referencing a skit that he did earlier where he said, quote, "This is the first time I've been shot in my life. I'd like to know who the F did it," end quote. People seem to believe that he swore on purpose because if you watch the footage back, there isn't any hesitation when he said it. But it could have just been that he didn't know that he couldn't say it, or he didn't realize that he had said it until later. Either way, this was the last straw for the studio, and they fired much of the cast and crew, including Gene and Charles. This whole scandal came so close to sinking the entire show for good, but it did end up destroying Rocket's career after this. At number 6, Jenny Slate. Sometimes your career can make or break you. Doing your job really well can pay off later down the line, but if you mess up, there can be some consequences. The messing up part applies to comedian Jenny Slate because after an incident on SNL cost her job, her career may have been set back a little. Though she's found a lot of success now, back in 2009 when she worked on SNL, she was pretty new to the industry and was looking for something to bring her career to new heights. When she was hired on SNL as a writer and performer, things were looking great for her, but all that excitement turned sour after her first on-air performance. In her first appearance as a member of cast on the show, she was performing one of the sketches that she wrote, and while on air, she accidentally switched up one of her lines, making it a little more adult and dropping an F-bomb. She quickly caught herself saying it, but it was too late. Unfortunately, you can't put the words back in once they've left your mouth. She tried to brush it off, pretending like no one else heard it, but unfortunately, people did hear it. This mistake stuck with her for the rest of the time that she worked there, and she ended up leaving the show after one season. She was fired at the end of the season, not necessarily because of the F-bomb incident, but because she, quote, didn't do a good job and didn't click. Because she got fired from such a big-time production, it took a little for her to get back on her feet, but she's been doing great since. A minor setback, but nothing major. At number 5, Ashley Simpson. This is one of the cringiest SNL moments and is sometimes referred to as the worst moment in SNL history. Though that's a bit of an extreme title, it was a doozy of a scandal and no one was quick to forget about it, especially Ashley. In 2004, Ashley Simpson was invited on SNL as their musical guest to perform a few songs to promote her newest album at the time, Autobiography. She planned to perform a few songs from said album, and things went off without a hitch as she got into her first song, Pieces of Me. Her performance went pretty well and she got the audience hyped for another song, but that's when things started to go south. As the band set up for the next song, music started playing, but it wasn't what anyone was expecting to hear. A vocal track for Pieces of Me started playing again instead of the next song in her set, revealing that Ashley had been lip-syncing that whole time. She froze on stage, clearly embarrassed, and then she started doing a little embarrassing dance before running off the stage as the show cut to commercial. She tried to brush it off later when they came back on the air, but the cringe was just too much for people to handle. Later on, we found out that Ashley was advised by her father to have the vocal track and just lip sync because she'd been suffering from some severe acid reflux that had been causing damage to her vocal cords, and he just wanted her to rest her voice a little. It was only good intentions that got her into that predicament, but people say that this was the moment that destroyed her career. At number 4, Janet Jackson. The Super Bowl halftime show is the one moment a year that millions of people tune in to watch the same thing. People turn off their reality TV programs and reruns of Jeopardy to grab a snack and watch the year's biggest performance. Well, during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, viewers watched a serious wardrobe malfunction happen that was life-changing to say the least. Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake were performing together when a move went wrong and Janet's breast ended up getting exposed. Following the incident, the media dubbed Nipplegate, the FCC sued CBS for the live incident in a $550,000 lawsuit, citing indecent exposure for their cause. Janet Jackson was really put through the ringer for her part in the whole scandal. As a result, she was uninvited to the Grammy Awards that year, and her songs were blacklisted from the radio. Even the next few albums that she released following the incident was met with negative reviews because of the scandal. If this were to happen now, I doubt she would have been met with such severe backlash. Do you? It was later discovered that this whole incident happened because the two performers had added a costume reveal into their performance at the last minute, and though it was rehearsed, the stunt failed at the last minute, resulting in Janet's exposure. It was all just an accident that ended up destroying someone's career. At number 3, Sinead O'Connor. SNL has been hit with controversies in the past, but I think one of the biggest ones I can think of is the one surrounding Sinead O'Connor, the Catholic Church, and SNL. On October 3rd, 1992, Sinead was invited on the show and was asked to perform a few songs from her newest album at the time, and she agreed, but had one request. Instead of performing one of her original songs, she opted to sing a cover of Bob Marley's song War. Though it was a bit of a bizarre request, they allowed it, and so Sinead got up on stage and performed a very dramatic rendition of the song, even switching up some of the lyrics to change the context and meaning. Her performance all led up to where Sinead really made a huge statement where she tore up a photo of the Pope saying, quote, "Fight the real enemy." Apparently, this whole performance was designed to be a stunt as a means to raise awareness about how the Catholic Church had allegedly been hurting people. Sinead recalled having known people who were hurt by members of the church, and she wanted to fight back on their behalf. Well, instead of this helping people like she wanted it to, it instead killed her career, as for the days following this live stunt, the network received thousands of angry calls. Even some celebrities spoke out condemning Sinead for this. Her career never really recovered from this moment, but she still stands by her decision to pull the stunt anyway. At number 2, Milli Vanilli. In the 90s, there was a huge music scandal that ended careers and ended in tragedy. The lip sync scandal that surrounded Milli Vanilli was one of music's biggest scandals, and it revealed that they were never really a real group and that everything was fake. This stage act was put together by German record producer Frank Farian as he attempted to create the next biggest music stars. It worked in theory, but they fell from grace as quickly as they rose. He had a vision to be able to release amazing music, but he needed the perfect people to sell it, and that's where Morven and Politis came into play. These two dancers were hired to be the bright, shining faces of Milli Vanilli, and though it was a musical act, they never had to sing. In fact, they lip-synced their entire career. Their act was a hit, and it worked for a while, even earning themselves a Grammy for their song Girl You Know It's True, but like all good things, they can never last. Milli Vanilli conquered the Billboard charts, they were asked to tour and perform live, but things started to get difficult for them since this act never really sang, and playing pretend on stage just wasn't cutting it. Eventually, they were caught in the act, so to speak, as their track suddenly stopped working during a live performance, revealing that they were faking it all along. This took a big toll on Morven and Politis, especially on their mental health, driving Politis to take his own life. And finally, at number 1, Natalia Kills. How mean is too mean? Well, for former X Factor New Zealand judge Natalia Kills, she was too mean. After casting some harsh judgment on an X Factor contestant, Natalia was dubbed a bully and saw her career go down the tubes as a result. On the show's second season, contestant Joe Irvin performed a rendition of Michael Bublé's Cry Me a River, and when he finished his performance, that is when all hell broke loose. Natalia criticized his performance harshly, saying that he was a copycat of her husband, saying that he made her feel disgusted and sick. She also said, quote, "As an artist who respects creative integrity and intellectual property, I'm disgusted at how much you have copied from my husband. From the hair to the suit, do you not have any value or respect for originality? You are a laughingstock, it's cheesy, it's disgusting. I personally found it absolutely artistically atrocious," end quote. A lot of people were shocked at how harsh her criticisms were, and so many people were appalled by Natalia's behavior that a petition was made to have her and another judge who was also a little too harsh removed from the show. The petition worked, and they were both booted midway through the season. Following this incident, Natalia was shunned and even went as far as changing her name to deflect some of the scrutiny that she was facing. Her career was truly over after this moment. Well, that's it for our list. I've been your host, Beer Room, and until next time, stay safe, make good choices, and stay groovy, friends. Bye.